Now for the question 10. The masses of 80 tomatoes produced at a nursery are recorded. The cumulative frequency curve below shows the mass x grams and the number of tomatoes which are less than or equal to x grams. So in the part 1a, tomatoes with masses more than 56 gram are rated grade A tomatoes. So estimate the percentage of grade A tomatoes. First we have to understand the scale along x-axis. So here we have the to subtract first 2 points and divided it by the number of square units between these 2 points. So 45 minus 40 divided by 5 will be equals to 5 over 5 and it will be equals to 1. Now the scale along y-axis will be equals to 10 minus 0 and divided by 5 and it will be equals to 10 over 5. So it will gives us 2. So it means that each square unit along x-axis is equals to 1 and each square unit along y-axis is equals to 2. Now for part 1a, we will identify the 56 grams along x-axis. So after 55, since each square unit is equals to 1, so here we have 56. So here we will draw a vertical line from the x-axis until it intersects the curve. Now from the point of intersection on the curve, we will draw a horizontal line until it touches the vertical or y-axis. From the point of intersection on the curve, we will draw a horizontal line until it touches the vertical axis. Now from the calculations, we know that each square unit along y-axis is equals to 2. So here we have 30, 32, 34. So the value is 36. So from the curve, the number of tomatoes with masses at most 56 grams is equals to 36. But we have to find out the tomatoes with the masses more than 56 grams. So for this, we have to subtract the number of tomatoes with masses at most 56 grams from the total number of tomatoes. So to find out the number of tomatoes with masses more than 56 gram, we will subtract the number of tomatoes with masses at most 56 grams from the curve from the total number of tomatoes, and that was, so here we have 80 minus 36 and it will be equals to 44. So the number of tomatoes with masses more than 56 grams is equals to 44. Now to find out the percentage of grade A tomatoes, We will use the formula of percentages. So the number of tomatoes rated as grade A are those tomatoes with masses more than 56 grams, and those was 44 divided by total number of tomatoes, and that is 80, multiply with 100%. Zero cancel out with zero, and here we have 440 divided by 8, and it will be equals to 55%. So 55%, so there are 55% tomatoes with masses more than 56 grams. Now in the part 1b, tomatoes that are Y gram or less than are rated as grade C. Estimate the value of Y if 15% of the tomatoes are rated grade C. So first, 50% of tomatoes is equals to 15 divided by 100 multiplied by the total number of tomatoes, and that is 80. So 0 cancel out with 0, and here we have further simplifications. So 2 3s are 15 and 2 5 2s are 5 3s are 15 and 5 2s are 10. So we have 2 4s are 8. So 3 multiplied by 4 is equals to 12. So 12 tomatoes are at most Y grams. Now from the curve, we can find out the value of Y. So from the vertical axis, cumulative frequency of 12. So we have 10 and here we have 12. From vertical axis, we will draw a horizontal line until it cuts or intersects the curve. Now from the point of intersection on the curve, we will draw a, from the y-axis, we will draw a horizontal line until it cuts the or intersects the curve. Now from the point of intersection, we will draw a vertical line until it touches the horizontal axis. Since we know that each square unit along x-axis is equals to 1, so here we have 50, 51, so 52. So from the curve, the value of y is equals to 52. Now in the part C, estimate the number of grade B tomatoes which are between grades A and C. So number of tomatoes with masses (52) less than x less than equals to 56. Why we have taken the class interval like 52 less than x less than equals to 56? Since it is given in the question that the number of grade B tomatoes which are between grades A and C. So the grades A tomatoes having the masses more than 56 grams and the tomatoes of grade C having the masses less than 52 grams. So that's why we have taken the values of x between 52 and 56. And since from the graph, for 52 grams of tomatoes, we have 52 grams of mass, we having the 12 tomatoes, and for 56 grams masses, tomatoes having 52 grams of mass are 12, and the number of tomatoes which have 56 gram of mass are 36. So that will be equals to 36 minus 12, and it will be equals to 24. So the number of grade B tomatoes is 24. So the number of grade B tomatoes is equals to 24. The part D, the owner of the nursery claims that 60% of the tomatoes produced in the nursery are rated grade A. Comment on whether your answer in part 1A supports his claim. So from part 1A, percentage of grade A tomatoes is equals to 55%. Therefore, the data does not support his claim. Because he claimed that the percentage of the grade A tomatoes is equals to 60%, but from part 1A we have find out the percentage of grade A tomatoes and that was 55%, so his claim does not support the data. Now in the part 1E, if two tomatoes are chosen at random from the 80 tomatoes, find the probability that two tomatoes are rated either grade A or grade B. Since we have find out the number of tomatoes since we have find out the number of grade A tomatoes from the part 1A, and that was equals to 44. Now we have also find out the number of grade B tomatoes from the part 1C, and that was equals to 24. Now we have to find out the number of grade A or grade B tomatoes. So for this, we will add the number of grade A tomatoes into the number of grade B tomatoes. So 44 plus 24 is equals to 68. So the number of grade A or grade B tomatoes is equals to 68. Now we have to find out the probability of both tomatoes are rated grade A or grade B. So here we will use the formula of the probabilities. So the number of favorable outcomes in this case is 68. Then the total number of outcomes is 80. So here we have 68 over 80. And since we have to find out two tomatoes at random, so for the second tomato, the total number of outcomes are left will be 79, since we have already taken one tomato. And since we have already chosen one tomato from the 80 tomatoes, so we have already chosen one tomato that is rated grade A or grade B. So the number of tomatoes that are rated grade A or grade B are left is 67. And here we have used the multiplication law of probabilities, just because these two events are independent. Now we are going to make simplifications. So 2 3s are 6 and 2 4s are 8. And here we have 2 4s are 8 and 0 40. Further simplification gives us 2 1s are 2 and 2 7s are 14. And here we have 2 2s are 4 and 20. Now 2 1s are 2 and 2 7s are 14. Now 17 multiplied by 67 is equals to 1139 divided by 20 multiplied by 79 is equals to 1580. So the probability that both tomatoes are rated grade A or grade B is equals to 1139 divided by 1580. Now in the part 2A, copy and complete the grouped frequency table for the masses of the tomatoes. First, we have to find out the cumulative frequency table from the given cumulative frequency curve. So for the 45 grams, we have the cumulative frequency of 2, 4, 50 grams. From the curve, the cumulative frequency is, this is 2, 4, 6 and 8. So the cumulative frequency for the 50 grams of tomatoes is 8. Now for 55 grams, we will draw a vertical line until it cuts the curve. Now from the point of intersection, we will draw a horizontal line until it cuts the vertical axis. Now here we have the value 20, 22, 24, 26. So the cumulative frequency is 26. Now for 60 grams of tomatoes, we have a cumulative frequency of 70. Now for the 65 grams of tomatoes, we have the cumulative frequency of 80. So here we have find out the complete cumulative frequency table. Now first we will identify the class intervals from the cumulative frequency table for each class interval. But since class intervals are already given in the question, so now subtract the cumulative frequency of the previous class interval from the cumulative frequency of the current class interval, and that gives us the frequency for the specific class interval. So now the first entry in the frequency column, cumulative frequency column is always equals to the first cumulative frequency value. So the value of the frequency for the class interval 40 to 45 will be equals to 2. To find the frequency for the class interval 40 to 45, subtract the cumulative frequency of the previous class interval. To find the frequency for the class interval 45 to 50, subtract the cumulative frequency of the previous class interval 40 to 45 from the cumulative frequency of the class interval 45 to 50. So 8 minus 2 will give us the frequency of 6. Now to find out the frequency for the class interval 50 to 55, subtract the cumulative frequency of the class interval 45 to 50, previous class interval 45 to 50, from the cumulative frequency of the class interval 50 to 55. So 26 minus 8 will gives us the cumulative frequency of 18. Now for the fourth class interval 55 to 60, subtract the cumulative frequency of the class interval previous class interval 50 to 55 from the cumulative frequency of the class interval 50 to 60, 55 to 60. So 70 minus 26 will gives us the frequency of 44. Now for the last class interval 60 to 65, subtract the cumulative frequency of the class interval 60 to 65. Now for the last class interval 60 to 65, subtract the cumulative frequency of the previous interval 55 to 60 from the cumulative frequency of the class interval 60 to 65. So 80 minus 70 will gives us the frequency of 10. So this is the complete frequency table. Now in the part 2b, using the table, find an estimate of the mean mass of the tomatoes produced at the nursery. So to find out the mean mass, estimated mean mass, we will use the formula equals to summation f of x divided by summation f. So the sum of the frequencies is equals to 80. Now we will find out the mid values. The first mid value will be find out by adding the lower and upper limits of the first class interval and divided it by 2. So 40 plus 45 divided by 2 is equals to 42.5. Now for the second class interval, we have the mid value 45 plus 50 divided by 2, and it will be equals to is equals to 47.5. Now for the third mid value, we have 50 plus 55 and divided it by 2. It will be equals to 52.5. Now for the fourth mid value, we have 55 plus 60 divided by 2, and it will be equals to 57.5. Now for the last mid value, we have 60 plus 65 divided by 2, and it will be equals to 62.5. Here we will multiply the respective frequencies with the mid values that we have find out. So from the formula, the first mid value was 42.5 and multiply it with the frequency 2, plus the second mid value is 47.5 and multiply it with the second entry of the frequency table, and that is 6, plus the third mid value is 52.5 and multiply it with the third entry of the frequency table, and that is 18, plus the fourth entry is 57.5 and multiply it with the fourth entry of the frequency table, and that is 44, plus fifth mid value is 62.5 and multiply it with the last entry of the frequency table, and that is 10, and divided it with the total number of frequencies, and that is 80. Now after calculations, we will get 4470 divided by 80. Now we will divide it. 85 is 400. Here we have 470. Again 85 is 400. Here we have 70. Now we would point here and here. Here we have 0. Here we have 700. So 88 8 is 640. So we have 600. Now 87 is 560. So here we have 400. So 85 is 400, and the divide stops here. So here we have 55.875 grams. So the estimated mean mass is equals to 55.875 grams. Part 2C. Explain why the mean is an estimate. The mean is an estimate because we do not know the exact mass of each tomato. So we take the mid values of each range as the representative value for that particular range.